everyone, welcome to back my channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before starting the video, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Hollyoaks' Maxine is set to get suspicious over Ethan Williams' recent death in next week's episodes. Last month, on the day of his wedding to Sienna Blake, Ethan was found dead on top of a car, and it looked like he'd been pushed from a balcony. Shortly before his death, he had a blazing row with Sienna over his previous cheating with Vicky Grant. As the main suspect, thanks to a fake eyewitness, Robbie Roscoe, paid off, Sienna was arrested and is currently behind bars, but she's adamant she didn't do it. In next week's episodes, Ethan's niece Maxine is frustrated at the lack of progress in the investigations, particularly over Jeremy's half-baked deductions and theories. She airs her grievances that everyone just seems to care about Sienna, and no one is mourning Ethan or wants justice for his sake. Convinced that Sienna is somehow responsible for his death, Maxine sets out to prove decisively that she did it. Will she end up making things worse for Sienna, or will her investigations actually lead to clues revealing the real killer's identity? Meanwhile, the soap has announced that two beloved McQueens are set to return in time for Christmas: Nana and Mara. It's so much fun working and laughing with the McQueens again. Although lots of crying too, with some amazing acting by all involved. Mara actor Nicole Barger-Lane said, "It's great because we know the McQueens can go from slapstick silliness to serious heart-wrenching drama." Here's a possible creative piece centered around Hollyoaks' character, Maxine, getting suspicious about Ethan's death, weaving suspense and intrigue into the storyline. #Maxine's suspicion. The pub was unusually quiet, with only the sound of glasses being stacked and the murmur of late-night conversations hanging in the air. Maxine sat alone in a corner, her mind racing as she gripped her drink. The news of Ethan's death had shocked the entire village, but for Maxine, it didn't sit right. Ethan had always been someone who knew how to survive. He was sharp, calculating, and unpredictable. A tragic accident, everyone had said, a late-night drive that had gone wrong. But Maxine couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to the story. As she swirled her drink, memories of her last conversation with Ethan surfaced. He'd been jumpy, more on edge than usual, hinting at something big he was working on, something dangerous. He told her not to worry, but now that he was gone, Maxine felt a gnawing doubt creeping into her heart. Across the bar, Sienna caught her eye and offered a sympathetic smile. Maxine forced herself to return it, though her thoughts were far from friendly. She'd noticed Sienna seemed more at ease since Ethan's death, and it unsettled her. Ethan and Sienna had been close at one point, but things had soured after a series of explosive arguments. Could Sienna have known something? When the pub cleared out, Maxine found herself walking through the dim streets of the village, replaying snippets of conversations and strange glances. She was deep in thought when a voice startled her. "Maxine," Warren whispered, emerging from the shadows of an alley. His eyes were hard, guarded, as he stepped forward. "Warren." Maxine's heart raced, both from his sudden appearance and the look in his eyes. "What are you doing here?" "I could ask you the same," he replied, his tone low. "Why are you poking around about Ethan?" "I'm not poking around," she replied defensively. "But doesn't any of this seem strange to you?" Warren's jaw tightened. "Leave it alone, Maxine," he warned. "Ethan made some dangerous choices, got mixed up with people he shouldn't have. Sometimes the past catches up with you. That's just how it is." Maxine watched as he walked off into the night, his words leaving her with more questions than answers. She knew that when Warren was tight-lipped, it meant something big was brewing beneath the surface. Deciding not to be deterred, Maxine headed home, determined to dig deeper into the circumstances surrounding Ethan's death. The next day, she paid a visit to the police station, hoping to gather information. PC Leah Williams, who had been assigned to the case, seemed reluctant to share anything. "Look, Maxine, it's been ruled an accident," Leah said, flipping through a file but never meeting Maxine's eyes. Sometimes people just have bad luck on the road. Maxine bit her lip, frustrated by the lack of answers. But as she turned to leave, she noticed Leah's hesitation, her fingers nervously tapping on the file. It was a small sign, but it made Maxine more determined than ever to find the truth. That evening, Maxine found herself outside Ethan's flat. She had managed to swipe his spare key months ago for emergencies, though she'd never needed to use it until now. Pushing open the door, she was struck by the stillness, the eerie quiet that seemed to settle in the room like a shadow. As she scanned the apartment, her eyes landed on a small, battered journal lying on the coffee table. She flipped through the pages, her fingers trembling as she read Ethan's scribbled notes about a series of mysterious threats he had been receiving. Names she didn't recognize, along with cryptic messages about keeping secrets and paying the price, were scattered across the pages. The final entry read, *, they're closing in. If anything happens to me, tell Maxine she was right. *. Her heart skipped a beat as she closed the journal, the pieces of the puzzle beginning to fall into place. Ethan had been in trouble, and he'd known it. But who were these people he'd angered? And why had he chosen to confide in her, of all people? Suddenly, a sound came from the doorway, and Maxine whipped around, clutching the journal to her chest. Sienna stood in the doorway, her eyes narrowing as she took in the scene. "What are you doing here?" Sienna demanded, her voice cold and sharp. Maxine's mind raced. She could tell Sienna about the journal, share her suspicions, but something held her back. "I could ask you the same thing," Maxine replied, trying to keep her tone steady. "Since when do you come here?" Sienna's gaze hardened, and for a moment, Maxine thought she saw a flicker of fear in her eyes. "Ethan was my friend," Sienna replied coolly, stepping closer. "I wanted to make sure his things were taken care of. But if you're here, snooping around, maybe you should rethink your priorities, Maxine. Some things are best left buried." With that, Sienna turned on her heel and walked out, leaving Maxine feeling more confused and unnerved than ever. The warning in Sienna's voice echoed in her mind, but instead of deterring her, it only strengthened her resolve. Over the next few days, Maxine began asking around, piecing together the rumors and whispers that had surrounded Ethan before his death. Warren's name came up frequently, as did Sienna's, and a few new faces she didn't recognize. It seemed that Ethan had been part of a dangerous scheme involving stolen money and secret alliances, and he had somehow gotten in over his head. Finally, she decided to confront Warren again, cornering him in the alley behind the pub. "You knew," she accused, her voice low but fierce. "You knew Ethan was in trouble, and you didn't help him." Warren's face was impassive, but his eyes betrayed a flicker of guilt. "He knew the risks," he replied gruffly. "He made his choice. Sometimes you can't save everyone." Maxine shook her head, anger and sadness bubbling up inside her. "Maybe you can't save everyone," she said softly. "But I can't just sit back and let this go. He deserved better than this." As she walked away, she knew she couldn't stop now. Ethan's journal had hinted at secrets yet to be uncovered, and Maxine was determined to find the truth, even if it meant risking everything she held dear. Thanks for watching this video, and please subscribe our Hollyoaks Update YouTube channel for more update news.